Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about the effects of fashion, social media, and mental health and how it plays a part of communicating today. So, those are the three main topics I'm going to be aiming for today and how it's a part of everyday communication within our society. So, to begin, I want to ask you guys a question. I want to ask you guys, why is understanding the importance of communication within various types of industries important? I want to let you guys think about that. So when it comes down to today, I'm going to be comparing and contrasting the different effects communication has within those sectors and how communication across the industries, has different factors for each element of communicating effectively and within that field and how it's important. For example, you guys, when it comes down to fashion, I think fashion is important because the clothing or statement piece, as some might call it, or the outfit, it needs to communicate pride, trending and confidence within the person that's wearing it. And there's so many fashion designers, who believe in this, who all agree. There's Tom Ford, Gucci, Celine Dior, and so much more. They actually agree that when it comes down to your fashion statement and your style, that it effectively communicates to the world who you are as an individual. And in terms of communicating and expressing a belief or a thought or opinion based on your perception or your fashion style that you're wearing. Now, when it comes down to social media, I think it's very important because social media has, began hugely influence. It's been an influential platform for various types of groups, such as political groups, such as, business and thought leaders and all that. And honestly, it's become, very like big and like it's become, honestly, uh, a big platform for them to communicate the message that they need to send to the world. Now, when it comes down to mental health, you guys, honestly, that one's kind of tricky because not many people like communicating, expressing their mental health to others. So, but honestly, it's honestly really important because it's an important part of your mental stability. So it's proven actually to be helpful to communicate with others, about your mental health. That's why it plays a really big role in communication. So those are the topics I'm going to be talking about today. So the first one I want to dive into is fashion. When it comes down to fashion, you guys, I think it's important because it plays a part of a useful communication. There's so many people, celebrities, such an example, who use fashion to express themselves. They use fashion to express themselves in different types of ways, and there's other people who do the same. There's other people who actually do the same thing that they do. They express their inner beliefs, and there's others who tend to do the same thing that they're doing. They're communicating in the same type of manner. Now, fashion is seen to be, an individualized concept of expressionism with deep factors of communicating one's individuality. So, honestly, I want to give you guys a quick question. When it comes down to what you're wearing, like, what are you exactly expressing when you wear what you wear? So, I want you guys to think about that. Now, I want to do a quick exercise with you guys. When it comes down to companies and brands, I'm going to name a few, and you can tell me what the company stands for. So, let's see, there's Nike, there's L'Oreal, there's Apple. I want you guys to, sit and relax and, think about what that actually stands for because I think that's really important. I know you guys might have your own opinion on that, but just think about that. Now, I wanted to tell you guys my intake. Now, the main point here is that associating a brand with the message it communicates to the world and communication, what consumers would see as communication from their favorite brand that they like. Associating companies' belief with our own belief is a different form of communication to a wide audience, which is it's referred to as corporate messaging. Actually, if you guys didn't know, that actually is considered corporate messaging. Now, to dig a little deeper when it comes down to fashion, there's many cultures who have various beliefs and styles about how fashion shapes who we are and how those trends are communicated amongst each other. For example, when it comes down to African tribes amongst the southern coast, Haruki, if I'm pronouncing that right, is A fashionable T-shirt that communicates to other tribes when like man tribes and women tribes, and the person who's wearing the T-shirt has ancestors who were native to eastern parts of Africa. If you guys didn't know that. Now, when it comes down to when it comes down to American society, wearing luxurious clothing, is a sign of, communicating confidence for someone who may be, well off. So I think that's really good too. When it comes down to fashion, you guys, fashion is communicated through, individualized opinions, and it's usually opinions that's created from society norms. Now, many people have their own conclusion of about what fashion means and how we communicate through fashion. So you guys all, have your own beliefs on what fashion is. And so when it comes down to fashion, it's, large events such as one that I recently heard a lot of people talking about, the Met Gala. There's a red carpet that's been around for a while. And fashion reporters play a big role in what was communicated and acceptable and trendy amongst fashion industry. So they play a really big role within that, and I think that's actually an important part when it comes down to fashion. Actually, I think that's a a really big part. Was saying when it comes down to that. Um, honestly, you guys, you know honestly, when it comes down to fashion, everyone expresses it in their own way. So you don't necessarily have to go based off of, what's trendy or anything like that. But anyways, that's just a summary. To give you guys a summary, those are just a few examples of how communication and fashion is influenced and what's communicated through individual perspectives, different brands, and how corporate messaging today plays a vital role in communication into the fashion industry and what it means today. So let's explore now social media, since it's a really big platform, as you guys know. It's become the biggest impact on the economy today when it comes down to social impact in this social drive amongst the different types of political groups and organizations, because social has risen actually amongst to replace the media entirely, and in certain type aspects are influenced by several factors. Now, I want to ask you guys yet another question. Okay, so who here believes that, when it comes down to social media, that it's become a fighting force with, multiple platforms? I want to ask you guys that. So you can sit and, think about that question and make a comment later. So I want to tell you guys my intake on that. I think social media has become, a tool for effective communicating in both negative and positive ways. It depends on the what the what perspective is viewed. So different factors play on into specific social media platforms we use to communicate different beliefs and opinions. So let's discuss factors of social and media and how it works. So throughout the years, social media has actually become a communication tool, used throughout the years, from I believe from the 2000s, from the early 2000s. Now, for example, when it comes down to Facebook, it was invented by someone named Mike Zuckerberg, who was a college dropout. And Facebook today is actually, the leading social media platforms. That's influential for elections and things of that nature. When it comes down to Instagram, well, when it comes down to Instagram, you guys, it's usually a platform that that consists of a lot of online advertisement, to communicate to corporate messages, and to promote their products to others. So I think that's what usually Instagram consists of actually. Uh, yeah. So when it comes down to that, I think that's actually excuse me. I think that's actually what it comes down to Instagram, because there's a lot of advertising just based on my perception. It's just been, a lot of online advertisement within that. So, to dig a little deeper, you guys, this is more on a negative side. When it comes down to geopolitical issues coming from the economic crisis, I believe it's started to reach, voice and social media platforms today. So, world governments are now starting to realize the dangers of communicating through various types of social media platforms. You know, there's like here's like the most recent examples of what communicated on various types of platforms. For example, in the recent years, Donald Trump had made both sides of he had influenced the Democrats and the Republicans to fight against bills because of his use of social media posts to now it has influenced a lot of people and decisions when it comes down to communicating their beliefs. Now another example would be Kylie Jenner, if you guys know her. um, in 2017, she made a Twitter post that said she thought that Twitter was not good, was not a good app. And in doing so, this caused about 16,000 Twitter accounts to be shut down because of her intake on that, because they agreed with her that, it wasn't good. So, in the midst of doing so, companies like the company Twitter has lost $1.2 billion within 3 days. Within 3 days with her doing so. So I think that's pretty extreme. Another example would be extremist groups such as ISIS. They use their social media to show brutal murders. Captured from civilians on, and they use different social media platforms, to post videos to government to get what they need. And so yeah, so I think that's pretty big when it comes down to that. Honestly, I think that actually is pretty big when it comes down to all those negative things. But the government across the world is starting to regulate what people can and can do, like cannot communicate when it comes down to social media. So yeah. So for a summary, guys, those are just references and that were made to showcase the positive and the negative dangers when it comes down to communicating within social media and how it can affect what can happen around us as we speak, think, and interact with various of other people on different social types of social media platforms. So, although many positive reasons have been communicated through the social media, like anything that has to do like that must cause, but it was I think there must be like an equal balance, honestly, when it comes down to how we communicate and how things are used on social media platforms, because it can affect uh, it could be an effective tool to move society forward, but let's not use it to push us backward. Let's try to use that information. Let's use the information to understand what social media has given us today, and how we should and shouldn't use social media for the next generation that's to come. Okay, so you guys, that's my intake on social media. Let's move on into mental health. So, like I said, mental health is, pretty tricky one because not everyone likes to talk about their mental health. But mental health, is a serious issue that many people just choose not to speak about. But let's let's look at the several reasons why it's important to acknowledge communication and effectively within mental health professions. So one of the main points here is to discuss the important effect communication has on it. It's a serious topic within mental health profession, because mental health has such a vital role in human existence to begin with. Because we cannot survive without understanding the implication, without discussing mental health issues. Communication, although it might seem bad to others, but it might seem hard, but there's the field that's been talked about, and it's just have to grow and to become better. Now, Honestly, when it's been research and statistics that have proven most of the time that if you do not take care of your mental health, if you not take care of your mental health, you might, what's saying, suffer the danger of, predetermined health conditions such as depression, you know. So I think it's a really good thing to, actually try to communicate when it comes down to your mental health. Now, individuals who are experiencing mental health issues, they're those who lack, the resources that they need to support and achieve their, consistent and constant state of mental health balance when it comes to themselves, But there's other, who suffer from mental health conditions and, they're labeled as social stereotypes. And I think that's honestly, that's completely wrong. I think that, giving that to people with mental health, I believe that's wrong because they believe that they receive special treatment, which isn't true. But honestly, you guys, we're saying we should move forward. We're saying when it comes down to mental health and, trying to gain strength to, cope with this and use the different platforms that we have to share and spread to the world what we're going through. Now, uh, there's been, there's been different, we're saying, people who's been hurting. And although there's, mental health people that's hurting, there's been someone who actually, created, who was like suffering a lot from mental health. And he created this huge campaign, you know, called the Hug Campaign, which is, embracing people who may be socially challenged and honestly, who might be socially challenged economically. And I think that was honestly very great for him to do that. I think that was honestly amazing. Now, when it comes down to another thing that's been helping out, there's been advertising companies who are now starting to showcase billboards that are promoting the use of services for public institutions and organizations meant to help mental health victims. Um, and there's actually influencers who are, using social media and who have joined, to fight the combat of mental health problems with those who are suffering from it. So yeah, there's been more advocates who's been, becoming more aware of mental health issues and acknowledging their factors in mental health. So I think that's actually pretty great. So honestly, yeah, so people are, experiencing mental health issues have, they have also, figured out how to become outspoken advocates for others. They actually been actually becoming outspoken with advocates for others who have experienced the same issues that they have been going through. So yeah, there's also been, several organizations that have, pushed more for political form towards the mental health issue. So the government has actually also been looking and taking mental health more seriously. Even though there's still the rate of suicide is actually still high, they have been taking the government's been taking it seriously and offering free mental health care for citizens experiencing mental health problems. I think that's actually pretty great. So yeah, when it comes down to the future of how mental health will, I believe it plays a role in social communication throughout understanding mental health issues. More people are starting to accept that mental health is a challenge within many countries. Future generations will learn to communicate better amongst, let's say, mental health issues if it's communicated well within a society today. So the adaptive services throughout what's in the culture around the world will be promoted shortly. That's what I personally believe. So yeah, I think that's what we honestly need to do. We need to promote and communicate more when it comes down to our mental health and the challenges that we are going through. Honestly, I think that plays a big vital role. So just to give you guys a summary, those were just just a few small points on why we must move forward with communicating within our mental health and why it's important to for human existence. The more that we communicate about mental health, the more communication within the field becomes stronger. And those, there are many opportunities for future generations to talk about mental health breakthroughs to the world, to the next level in understanding our past communications and discussions about mental health. So yeah, we can move forward in communication about mental health in the future. Now that we discussed, compared and contrast the different effects of communication within the three fields that I mentioned, which is yet again fashion, social media, and mental health, we can now understand that when it comes down to communication within these fields and how it's important to understand how to move forward. Methods of communication, regardless of the industry, are very, it's very cast and wide, and we have different ways, different meanings of those, over time when it comes down to communication and the style, and it will change within the industries, and we'll adapt, and things like that. So hopefully, I feel that after looking at the different ways that it comes down to communication and how it's used in the different sectors that we had mentioned across various industries, and I hope that you guys will now understand how communication is important when it comes down to the key factors of expressing, and how to behave and how to react, and when it comes down to communication. So yeah, I hope that you guys will understand that very well, and have a great day. Thank you.